Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of well, I'll call the desperation factor as the relational changing script begins to take hold between dog and owner. And it's very interesting because what you'll see is, dogs, again, through this issue of control, what they do is knowing that things are beginning to cover off, that you're beginning to gain momentum, so to speak, within the process itself. What dogs will do is they will attempt to make up the difference as it relates to certain situations, certain objects. They'll become more desperate, and you'll especially see this in the initial phases of the process. Because here's the thing to understand: just understand this issue of control. It's no different than, say, dealing with this, a parental situation with an out of control kid who's very selfish, and you begin to take certain things away from them that represents a supply source. It's no different, say, than a very narcissistic person, a very selfish person. They begin to lose certain things that they invest in, and what happens is they'll begin to overinvest. They begin to kind of covet other things because what they're doing is they're realizing that they're losing certain things that hold value to them, and not in a healthy way, okay? Because it's not about they're not in right relationship with the parent, just like dogs are not in right relationship with the owner, and they begin to seek to make up the difference. It's a type of a balance that they try to find because, again, they're in process. And so you'll see a desperation begin to come on to the dog. It's very, very interesting. In fact, interesting example of this situation. And again, knowing this stuff is going to happen. That's why people will ask me, well, Dale, why do you, people have more than one dog. Why do you separate, recommend separating the two dogs? Really separating in terms of individual crates. Treating them as individuals at that level, because again, once dogs begin to gain control, they begin to have kind of like stinking thinking. Okay, it's like the big brother syndrome, where one dog especially will begin fueling off the other dog, and you'll see the same type of desperation via control. Once the dog begins to even have a sense this is going to happen, they'll get desperate. Okay, they'll realize that what's going down, so to speak. So the situation was, I was helping out one dog owner who had two very high drive pit bulls, and on his property he had large fenced in area for these dogs where they're together. Okay, but during the process, when I began to really get him to advocate separating them, it's interesting. One of the dogs during that initial part of that separation, when he's leading one dog away on the leash, his wife had the other dog on the other leash. The dog that had gained the most fulfillment through one of the dogs became very desperate and tried to bite the other dog pretty hard on the back quarters, because again, what it was like again, that moment of desperation where it's like, I got to get my last little shot in here, or gains an opportunity to gain fulfillment, because I'm sensing I'm going to lose that. And the owner really looked at that and said, wow, that's amazing. I've never seen the dog act like that. Well, here's the point. It didn't have to act like that because it was in full control prior to that. Okay? And really encourage you to really think about that. I mean, dogs don't have to challenge that which they already have control over. Okay, this is why it's very profound when you begin to really engage the dogs differently. You begin to invest in this methodology, and the integrity of that begins taking hold. You'll see the dog react to that. Okay, because it's all about control. It's all about who's in control and who's losing control, and what the process represents through that. And this is why, again, you have to, I tell people, you got to hold true to the method. Understand, you'll see these things which are interesting, which will allow you to make sense of things. It'll say, wow, that's interesting. well, that just reaffirms the method. Okay, it's going to reaffirm everything I'm saying, because as these things start happening, it helps you make sense of it. It makes complete sense, and even apply it within a parenting scenario. You see the same thing: a teenager throwing a fit, wanting to kick a hole in the door because they're losing certain things, and they'll overinvest in other things. Then you basically have to strip everything away. You may have to, in order to get the relationship fixed, as you invest properly. And that's the whole point: is you become the pivot point, you fade in, and then some of these things come back. This is why even having the second dog, dogs come back together again, but differently, as followers to you. But this is why you have to really consider, how dogs, connect with certain things, certain objects, other dogs, because you have to be very intentional about not just the process, but rebuilding those bridges through the method. Okay, and you'll know that things are starting to, become positive in how the dogs are interacting, responding to the method. The method itself, okay, is both creates change, but also is your litmus test, how the dogs respond. Just like that pit bull that lashed out when it was brought under the method, understanding just how that covered off. So anyway, just something, it's very interesting, but something to think about when it comes to issues of control. Thanks for watching.